So it's been about 8 months since I took delivery of my Type-S, and I feel like an ownership experience video update is much needed. But more importantly, I know that some people are interested in knowing what it's like to own this car once the proverbial shine has worn off. So, nearly 9,000 miles and several months later into the ownership, I can honestly say that I truly do enjoy driving this. But because I use this every day, I have noticed a couple of things that, let's just say, I didn't notice before, which I'll be addressing in this video. The first thing I want to address is the torque steer. Though I've mentioned in the past that it's nearly imperceptible, I've come to realize that it really is still very much present. But you only notice it when you drive moderately hard, because during normal commutes, there's no hint of it at all. Does it bother me? No, but it's there, and it's actually quite easy to notice. Second, I originally said that I never heard any of the rattles in this car. Well, I do now, and it's one of those things that once you notice them, you'll just keep noticing it. Is it annoying? Yes, but is it enough to degrade the ownership experience? No, because as I've mentioned before, I think the tire noise are the biggest offenders for me. And oddly enough, the rattles come and go, depending on the music that I'm playing, but thankfully most of the time they're just not there. Well, it's either that or I've learned to tune them out. After several months, my driving habits have slightly changed. Because originally I kept everything except the suspension in the most aggressive setting. Nowadays, everything is kept in comfort and the exhaust is set to Sport, not Sport Plus. Because I realized that the cracks and burbles do get old for a daily driver, and the deeper note on Sport mode is aggressive enough for me to leave on. This actually makes me appreciate the ability to switch modes anytime in this car even more, because I don't have to live with one setting all the time. Now let's get to some of the things that I've added to this car, starting with these all-weather floor mats by TuxMat. I like that these mats actually look good enough to keep them on 100% of the time, and the quality of the material is really high that I think it actually adds a premium feel in here. The fit is nearly perfect, and I've heard some commented that theirs somehow get in the way of the clutch pedal. Personally, I've had zero problems with it, and they make cleanup much easier. I appreciate the fact that they extend all the way to the sides, which ensures all the dirt fall in the mat. My only gripe is that the rear mats won't lay completely flat. I mean, it's a minor issue since my kids sit in the back and they really don't care. And if you have children, these mats are a must-have. I think the most significant upgrade I've done so far is replacing the piano black middle console with this Alcantara-lined version from a company called Overland Designs. I actually posted a how to install video that is unlisted in my channel, but if you want to check it out, click the link in the description box. Anyway, this really does elevate the interior of the Integra and makes the car feel a bit more special. As a matter of fact, the techs over at the Acura dealership were asking about it. It matches my seat and my steering wheel perfectly. Personally, I think it should have come from the factory like this. I also added a little tray to go inside the storage, which you can pick up on Amazon. And two additional simple touches are these Naruto themed coasters. And to match these subtle design additions, I also picked up these covers for my valve stems. If you know, you know. One of the things I realized about this car is that the phone charging tray is barely large enough to fit my iPhone 15 Pro Max. The solution was to get a phone mount, but I didn't want to mount anything above the dash. So I found this bendy magnetic mount on Amazon and had originally mounted it here. The problem was, every time my wife would get in the passenger side, it was very easy to knock the phone over, which also caused the adhesive to eventually loosen. So I decided to mount it on the driver's side instead, but made sure that it was pushed in as much as possible so that I don't hit the phone when I shift gears. So far, this has been the most effective solution I've found. And since I hate dangling cables, I got a very short one from a company called Chubby Cables, and they work great. Now, even after making these small improvements to the car, I still have a few gripes with it as a daily driver. The first one being the lack of cameras. The backup camera is fine, but with an aggressive front, I really would like to have a front camera. I mean, the proximity sensors do a decent job, but I'm more worried about scratching the front lip. And while we're on the subject, I think cameras on the side for blind spot monitoring would be great too. My next gripe is kind of related to the first one. Once you start up the car, this disclaimer pops up all the time and lingers far too long unless you physically tell it to go away. It does the same thing in our Telluride, but I can at least press the camera buttons to quickly make it disappear as I'm moving out of a spot. This extra button would be an amazing feature to have in the Integra Type-S, especially when I'm trying to navigate my way in or out of a tight parking space. Wireless Apple CarPlay works perfectly fine, and I really have not noticed any issues with it. What's interesting, though, is that I've had more than one instance in which wired CarPlay doesn't always work. I've switched cables and tried different phones, and the problem still persists at times. The only solution I've found is to unplug the phone and plug it back again. And sometimes even that takes 2 or 3 tries, which is quite annoying. And here's another thing that I found to be quite annoying. You see, the reality of living with this as a daily driver is that I have my kids in the backseat a lot of the times. So sometimes when I'm listening to music or podcasts, I like to move the sound of the speakers to just the front. This means I would have to go through a set of submenus in the touchscreen to do that. Now, what bothers me is that the smart shortcut button isn't that smart, since I can't program it to jump directly to that particular setting for easy access. This one's a little minor, but I do wish the port to connect your phone is USB-C and not the old-fashioned USB-A. While I still don't think rear vents are necessary in this car, I have come to realize that having access to charging ports in the backseat is quite important for me and my kids. To be honest, I've come to realize that I don't really mind that the passenger seat is fully manual, but I do mind the fact that I don't have memory seats. And since my wife drives this car sometimes, I would have to adjust or readjust the seating every so often, and that can be quite irritating. Initially, my biggest complaint with the Type S is the lack of a home link system, but I think I may have found a perfect solution for it thanks to my friend Yee. For around $45, instead of using a garage door opener, I've installed a device that makes my dumb garage door into a smart one. What's awesome is that I can use it with Apple HomeKit, and when CarPlay is on and I'm within range, this button pops up on screen, which lets me activate my garage door. What's more is that it lets me know if the garage door is open or closed in case I'm having second thoughts during hectic days. I think I'll be making a short video on this device to explain a bit more on how it works. This one is more of a wish list for the Integra Type-S, which is a more distinct interior trim. I would love to see a Type-S badge integrated somewhere on the dash, like the Civic Type R, and maybe a little bit of Alcantara in the door panels to match the seats. I think these two little changes can make a whole lot of difference in the interior department, since these hard plastic surfaces really take away from that premium feel. Now, this one might come as a surprise to some, but I don't think this car needs a sunroof. I'm sure some people would prefer it, but it really isn't something this car needs, as some may argue. Also, the seats are perfectly fine. So since owning this car, it's already gotten its first oil change, I've driven this to Vegas and back, sat in heavy traffic, driven it in the rain, and took it along really nice canyon roads. It's been nothing but reliable and enjoyable, and my original issue with it having a small gas tank doesn't really seem to be a problem for me anymore. So now I want to talk about what I don't regret after buying this car. First, I don't regret getting it ceramic coated, as it really does make maintaining and cleaning it a lot easier. Second, I do not regret not getting PPF. I was really on the fence in the beginning, but spending a lot of money to cover the front end just didn't really sit well with me. As a matter of fact, I've already accumulated some battle scars, which is very normal for any car. And truth be told, since then I've spent a lot less time worrying about the chips and more time just enjoying the drive. I don't regret getting the carbon fiber spoiler, the blacked out badges, the suede steering wheel, or the aluminum shift knob. I think altogether they make the car a bit more special to look at and to interact with. I don't regret not getting the illuminated badge in the front or the illuminated door sills at all. Obviously, this boils down to personal taste, but I just don't see any aesthetic value to them. And to be honest with you, those are the only things I could really think of while making this video. So I'm happy to report that despite those little issues that I've discovered over the last several months, I still really am very happy about this purchase. So let me just say this, if you are considering this vehicle,
I think it's very important to manage your expectations. Sure, you're getting a very fun car that is practical to use on a day-to-day basis. It has enough room for your kids. It has enough room for your groceries. The ride can be a little bit firm, but that's what you would expect from a sports car. It's not going to ride like a luxury car. And there's definitely some improvements that can be made to some of the things that I mentioned earlier, especially the noise, vibration, and harshness. I think the compromises are very small, and that makes this car very, very difficult to dislike. Oh, and in case it wasn't clear, I have no regrets. Well, except for one. You see, I saw a performance red version of this car, and yeah, kind of made me think. But anyway,